Chrysippus of Soli, a pivotal figure in Stoic philosophy. Chrysippus of Soli stands as a remarkable figure in the history of Stoic philosophy, renowned not only for his development of Stoic logic, but also for the captivating anecdotes surrounding his life and thought. Below are 8 notable stories about Chrysippus. 1. Becoming a philosopher through a challenge. Chrysippus was born and raised in a wealthy family in Soli, a region in Cilicia, modern-day Turkey. As a young man, he could have easily inherited his family's wealth and pursued the life of a prosperous merchant without financial worries. However, such a life of luxury and comfort did not satisfy him. What Chrysippus truly craved was knowledge. His life changed forever when one day he came across a book by Cleanthes, who at that time was the head of the Stoic school, having inherited the teachings of its founder, Zeno of Citium. Cleanthes described the Stoic virtues of tranquility, emotional control, and living in accordance with reason. Chrysippus was enthralled by the simplicity yet power of these ideas. After finishing the book, he asked himself, "Can I learn these things? Can I surpass the understanding that Cleanthes has achieved?" This thought prompted him to resolve to travel to Athens, where the most renowned philosophers gathered. Upon arriving in Athens, he sought out Cleanthes and requested to become his student. Recognizing the passion and latent intellect in Chrysippus, Cleanthes agreed to mentor him, guiding him through Stoic thought and way of life. Chrysippus quickly realized that philosophy was not an easy path. It required discipline and patience. The challenge he set for himself initially became a lifelong pursuit, seeking truth, understanding life, and mastering oneself. Through years of learning, Chrysippus not only absorbed the teachings of Cleanthes, but also developed his own reasoning and argumentative skills. He understood that every person could attain peace through reason and emotional mastery, which further strengthened his resolve to transform these insights into detailed theories for others to learn from. 2. The tireless logician. During his years in Athens, Chrysippus dedicated all his energy to study and writing. Unlike many other philosophers of his time, he didn't write to showcase his brilliance, but to create the most comprehensive and accessible system of Stoic reasoning. It is said that Chrysippus worked almost non-stop, to the point where he neglected basic bodily needs like eating or resting. His days revolved around books, dialogues on logic, and hundreds of pages filled with logical formulas and theories. Chrysippus authored hundreds of works, the majority focusing on logic, language, and reasoning. In each work, he meticulously analyzed issues, presenting complex arguments to challenge and strengthen various viewpoints. A key aspect of his thought was his ability to examine a problem from multiple angles. If he could conceive of 3 ways to explain a problem, he would continue searching for 7 more, ensuring that no perspective was overlooked. His relentless efforts not only made him a great logician, but also laid a solid foundation for Stoic philosophy. Although many of his works have been lost, Chrysippus's ideas and reasoning were recorded and transmitted by his students, leaving behind a rich philosophical legacy. Thanks to him, Stoicism expanded beyond ethics to encompass logic and reasoning, helping it evolve into a comprehensive school of philosophy. Number 3, facing the argumentative. Chrysippus often encountered people who argued not in search of truth, but to win debates. On one occasion, such a person came to his class, eager to challenge the famous philosopher with tricky questions. He hoped that by crafting sharp arguments, he would embarrass Chrysippus. The onlookers were equally excited, anticipating a battle of wits between a self-assured challenger and the great philosopher. Chrysippus, well aware of the man's intentions, avoided the trap of a drawn-out debate. Instead, he asked him a simple question: "Can you make a true statement?" The question seemed straightforward, but it forced the man to think. Confidently, the man replied, "Yes, I can." Without hesitation, Chrysippus smiled and said, "Good, then that is a true statement." With this brief and precise response, Chrysippus silenced the challenger. He had refuted the man without engaging in a lengthy debate, demonstrating that sometimes truth doesn't need to be complex or require extensive argument. This story conveys a subtle lesson about the essence of Stoic philosophy. One should not cling to the need to win arguments, but instead seek the core of the issue with an open and discerning heart. For Chrysippus, truth has intrinsic value. It does not need to be proven or debated, but simply recognized. 4. The confrontation with the ideas of Plato and Aristotle. Chrysippus did not shy away from challenging the ideas of earlier philosophical giants like Plato and Aristotle, even though this often stirred controversy within the philosophical community. Plato, who believed that the soul was immortal and existed independently of the material body, had widespread influence during this period. In contrast, Chrysippus argued that the soul was a part of nature, composed of material elements and subject to the laws of change within the cosmos. He posited that the soul was merely another form of matter existing within the body, and that it would dissipate when the body ceased to exist. Chrysippus also disagreed with Aristotle's approach to logic. Aristotle constructed a system of logic based on complex arguments, breaking them down into syllogisms to prove truths. Chrysippus, however, believed that logic could be approached more simply, through clear and direct chains of conclusions. He laid the foundation for Stoic logic by focusing on the principle of causality, asserting that every event and decision had a clear reason and consequently an inevitable outcome. Chrysippus maintained that by understanding the cause, one could control and respond to events in life without the need for overly complicated theories. This confrontation with the ideas of Plato and Aristotle not only affirmed the independence of Stoic philosophy, but also expanded and strengthened its intellectual framework. The divergence made Chrysippus' system of thought more accessible, especially to the common people, as it emphasized practicality and applicability to everyday life. 5. The greatest interpreter of the Stoic school. While the Stoic school was founded and initially developed by Zeno of Citium, it was Chrysippus who solidified the philosophical system of Stoicism. Zeno laid the groundwork, and Clytus, Chrysippus' teacher, furthered its development. But it wasn't until Chrysippus' time that Stoic ideas became more coherent and systematic. Chrysippus recognized that for Stoicism to become a major philosophical school and compete with other systems like Epicureanism or Platonism, it needed a deep, well-articulated system of reasoning that could be applied not only in ethics, but also in logic and physics. He devoted much of his life to drafting over 700 works, focusing on analyzing and expanding Stoic principles, from ways of living to the laws governing the universe. Clytus once humorously remarked, "Without Chrysippus, I would be nothing," highlighting Chrysippus' crucial role in shaping and sustaining the Stoic school. Without his substantial contributions, Stoicism might have been overshadowed by other philosophies and faded away. Thanks to Chrysippus' persistence, Stoic philosophy became a comprehensive, robust, and influential system of thought. By transforming Stoicism into a complete doctrine, Chrysippus not only preserved but also integrated the school into the mainstream philosophical discourse of the Greco-Roman world. As a result, Stoic ideas survived for centuries, inspiring great philosophers and thinkers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, and continue to influence Western thought up to the present day. 6. The principle of ethical conduct. Chrysippus made significant contributions to Stoic philosophy, and the principle of ethical conduct was one of his most influential doctrines. For Chrysippus, self-control, or mastery of oneself, was not just an ideal, but essential to living a peaceful and autonomous life. He argued that people must learn to act based on reason rather than being governed by emotions. To him, emotional states like anger, jealousy, or despair were products of irrationality and therefore needed to be controlled to achieve a clear mind. Once a student asked why it was necessary to restrain emotions to such an extent, since they were a natural part of being human. Chrysippus replied, "We cannot control the events around us, but we can fully control how we react to them." This is the cornerstone of Stoicism, living according to nature while not allowing anything external to dominate the soul and mind. Chrysippus's principles of ethical conduct were conveyed through simple yet profound lessons, which attracted a large following. He taught that people should renounce the desire for material possessions and the pursuit of power, as these things only lead to inner turmoil. Instead, he encouraged his students to focus on living authentically, justly, and patiently. Chrysippus emphasized that self-control was not about repressing emotions, but about living a reasoned life, where every action stems from careful thought and consideration. This, he believed, allowed individuals to attain a state of mental tranquility and freedom from suffering. The bizarre death by a drunken donkey. One of the most famous stories about Chrysippus is not about his philosophy, but rather about his death. At the end of his life, when he was already a figure of great influence, the tale goes that he died under the strangest of circumstances. Chrysippus, who often pondered deeply on life and ethics, passed away in a fit of laughter. One day, he saw a drunken donkey trying to eat a fig, and the absurdity of the scene amused him greatly. With his unique sense of humor, he even joked, "Give it some more wine to go with that fig." It is said that he laughed uncontrollably and eventually died on the spot. Though the story may be embellished, it remains a famous anecdote, portraying Chrysippus not only as a great philosopher, but also as someone who embraced life with humor, even in death. His death became a symbolic representation of how Stoicism can lead one to accept the unexpected and irrational elements of life with calmness and joy. Since then, the death of Chrysippus has been referenced in philosophical circles as a strange blend of humor and life philosophy. Perhaps it was his final reminder to the world to live with reason and serenity, but also to leave space to enjoy life's random and delightful surprises. Gnaw 8. The ideal of the sage. One of Chrysippus's most profound contributions to the Stoic school was the ideal of the sage. According to him, the sage is someone who lives entirely by reason, remains unaffected by emotions, and is always in harmony with nature. He believed that to achieve true peace and happiness, a person must have complete control over their thoughts and actions, avoiding being swayed by emotional turbulence. This was the Stoic ideal, someone who could overcome suffering and negative emotions to reach a state of tranquility. Chrysippus did not idealize the notion that everyone could easily achieve this state. He understood that human beings, with all their complexity and emotions, could never be perfect. However, he believed that the effort to strive toward this ideal was itself a worthy goal. He encouraged people to learn from their mistakes, to improve themselves daily in order to come closer to perfection, even though they might never fully reach it. Chrysippus's ideal of the sage became a guiding light for later Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. They applied this ideal to their lives, living with simplicity, patience, and self-discipline. This ideal helped Stoic philosophy evolve into not just a theoretical system, but a way of life, a philosophy that guided individuals in facing life's challenges with resilience and calm. Chrysippus, with his depth of thought and logical brilliance, not only completed Stoic philosophy, but also shaped the Stoic way of living for generations to come. He taught people how to master themselves, live according to reason, and rise above emotional impulses, lessons that remain relevant today. Beyond his theories, his life and the anecdotes about him reflect a sense of humor back, a calm perspective on both life and death. From developing unique logic, defending the ideal of ethical conduct, to his peculiar death, Chrysippus is a vivid symbol of Stoicism's spirit, calm in the face of all events, and optimistic even in the most ironic situations. This is why he is seen as the greatest interpreter of the Stoic school, and his philosophy became the foundation upon which Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and other philosophers built. Through these stories, we see not only a brilliant philosopher, but also a man who truly knew how to live with deep insight, humor, and admirable mental fortitude.